Very good afternoon, dear students. We have been discussing unit number 4 of Microbes and Environment, this open course. And in the previous class, we have discussed the fundamental aspects of the sanitation of air and the airborne microorganisms. And in this particular class, we are going to discuss another important topic, that is wastewater treatment. In your syllabus, they have mentioned microorganisms and sewage treatment, BOD and COD, trickling filter, activated sludge process, and oxidation pond. All those topics we are going to cover in this particular class. So as you all know, again we have discussed the aquatic microbiology, and we have already discussed what are the various steps for water purification, and there we have discussed the purification of water is very important, as nowadays there are lot of scarcity of water. There are so much of people, they are living without any such resources. So the purification of the water is very important. Although we are having the purification strategies, most of the sewage are filled with the water ecosystem, and this sewage should be treated to avoid a lot of waste material in our ecosystem and clean all the natural water bodies and recycle the waste water. Okay, and due to all those aspects, this concept is very important, and that is why we are discussing in here the microbes and environment paper. Microorganisms such as bacteria, fungi, algae, etc. are playing very vital role. These organisms are having so much of relevant role in the waste management process, the sewage treatment process that is conventionally undertaken by lot of industry. So we are going to see what are the major aspects of microorganism and what are the major steps, method for the sewage treatment process. So this word sewage, I think you might have heard. Okay, so that is wastewater. Okay, so wastewater or sewage, that is defined as the water that is used in a particular supply of a community and which consists of so much type of waste, such as waste, that is domestic waste, industrial waste, and ground and surface atmospheric waste, and all these wastes are collectively known as sewage. So as I said, this sewage treatment is one of the most important aspects for the human and the society, because we need to segregate the waste and clean the ecosystem and make our ecosystem environment eco-friendly for the growth of all the organisms. So thus the sewage need to be treated, and that is free from all the domestic waterborne waste, industrial waterborne waste, and ground and surface atmospheric waterborne waste. And this domestic waterborne waste, the waste that include the human excreta that is washed in the water. Okay, the human and animal excreta or excrements, okay, that are washed in the water, that is known as domestic waterborne waste. Industrial waterborne waste are the waste such as acids, that is arises from the industry, oils, grease, and the waste materials from the animal and the vegetable matter discharged by the factories. Then the ground surface and atmospheric waters are that is obtained from the natural process like rainwater, okay, and surface such as the lake, river, pond, etc. There are a lot of waste that is entered in the wastewater system. So these are the major types of sewage. So in order to clean or treat the sewage, microbiology aspects have a lot of relevance and importance. So that is what we are going to discuss in this particular class. And there are three different types of wastewater systems are there, okay, and these three different types of wastewaters, that is that there is another term that is known as sewers. So sewers are nothing but the wastewater that is a treatment, the water that consisting of different types of wastewater, okay. There are three types of wastewater. One is sanitary sewers, storm sewers, combined sewers. So sanitary sewers which carries domestic and industrial wastewater or sewage. Then storm sewers carry the surface and rain water, okay. The combined sewers carry both these sanitary sewers and storm sewers, okay. The wastewater that is arises from both the sanitary and storm sewers. So sewers are the wastewater system, okay, that is known as sewers. Then in order to study the extent of pollution in water bodies, we should study something is known as biochemical oxygen demand or BOD, or biological oxygen demand, okay. So this has a lot of importance in the wastewater treatment process. That has a direct relationship with the microbial process. So what do you mean by BOD, or biochemical oxygen demand, or biological oxygen demand? So biochemical oxygen demand or biological oxygen demand is the amount of dissolved oxygen required by the microorganism for the aerobic degradation of the organic matter present in the wastewater, okay. So BOD is the amount of dissolved oxygen required by the microorganism for the aerobic degradation of organic matter present in the wastewater. So this is the amount of dissolved oxygen, the amount of dissolved oxygen required for the microorganism for the removal of this toxic material present in the water. So if you simply look at the biochemical oxygen demand, you will come to know that how much amount of the waste matter is present and how much amount of organism is present. So thus the magnitude of the biochemical oxygen demand is an indication of the amount of organic material present in the sewage, okay. The magnitude of the biochemical oxygen demand, that is a clear-cut indication of the amount of or the quantity of the organic material that is present in the sewage. So thus the strength of wastewater is expressed in terms of biochemical oxygen demand level, okay. The strength of wastewater is always expressed in terms of the BOD level, okay. And the BOD level is, if it is high, that means the content of organic matter is also very high. The microorganism require lot of BOD, oxygen requirement for detoxifying this particular waste material, and that is the relevance of high BOD. So high BOD is, if you test high BOD level, if it is indicating the value is high, then that indicate that the wastewater is completely polluted, okay. Then where the BOD level is very less, that means to say the waste material is very little and that is very less present in the wastewater. So that is very, very important. This we can test in the laboratory, okay. There is a 5-day procedure. There we can collect the water samples from any of the places and you can test in the laboratory. A particular method is known as Wrinkler's process, okay. This Wrinkler's process can be used to study the biochemical oxygen demand of the water sample. It is a 3-day process actually, okay, and 5-day process. BOD, it is a 5-day process, and not 3-day, 5-day process. First day you will check the dissolved oxygen, then you will incubate the water sample for 5 days. After incubating in 20 degrees centigrade in a cold chamber, again you will check the dissolved oxygen. Then there is a formula to calculate the biochemical oxygen demand. So using that particular formula you will calculate. So that is the way how you will calculate the BOD. Then I told you BOD is the estimation of dissolved oxygen present in the first day and the dissolved oxygen present in the fifth day. So obviously the next one is important in the syllabus is dissolved oxygen. This is the fundamental aspects of biochemical oxygen demand. What do you mean by this dissolved oxygen? This dissolved oxygen, otherwise known as DO, it is the amount of gaseous oxygen dissolved in the water. Okay, the amount of oxygen that is dissolved in the water is known as dissolved oxygen. So dissolved oxygen is a measure of how much oxygen is dissolved in the water and the amount of oxygen that is available for the microorganism in the aquatic ecosystem. Okay, how much is the water oxygen? That indication is known as dissolved oxygen. Okay, so this is the amount of dissolved oxygen in a stream or lake can tell us a lot about the water quality. Okay, if the amount of dissolved oxygen is very high in a stream or lake or any pond, then we can tell that the quality of the water is not so good. Okay, and how the oxygen is entering into the aquatic ecosystem, there are so many processes. Okay, the main processes are the oxygen enters in the water by direct absorption from the atmosphere, okay, by rapid movement, and also the waste product of the plant photosynthesis. We have already discussed the end product of photosynthesis is what? It is oxygen. So that oxygen is released in the atmosphere and the water bodies are absorbed that one, and the environment, from the environment the oxygen is entering to the water bodies. So the water temperature and the volume of moving water can affect the dissolved oxygen level. The temperature and the volume of water that can be affected in the dissolved oxygen level. So the levels that are too high or too low can harm the aquatic life and affect the water quality. If the dissolved oxygen content is very less, that is also a problem. So dissolved oxygen content is very very high, then that is clearly indicating the water is polluted. So there should be a good dissolved oxygen content without any organic pollutant. Okay, so that is what we should know. So that is all about dissolved oxygen. Then we have discussed what are the objective of a wastewater treatment process. This is very very important. Why do you want to process the wastewater? What are the basic vision? What are the basic objectives? What are the basic aim? Okay, the major aim and challenges of wastewater treatment are, there are three. Number one, to remove the compounds with a high biochemical oxygen demand. I have told you, if biochemical oxygen demand is very high, that indicates that the water is so polluted. So thus we need to remove the compounds with a high biochemical oxygen demand, the compounds with a high BOD. Next one is, we have already discussed, the aquatic water bodies, the coliforms are mainly present. Their presence indicates the pathogenic organism. So the next objective of wastewater treatment process is to remove the pathogenic microorganism and viruses. Okay, to remove the pathogenic microorganism and viruses. Okay, the next one is to remove the toxic chemical substances. Okay, to remove the toxic substances. Okay, so nowadays you are hearing that there are a lot of Calicut and all other places, there are a lot of people that are infected with the Shigella. There are people says that Shigella is it's a virus. It is not a virus, it's a bacteria. It's a gram-negative bacteria. People will be getting bacillary dysentery. That is one of the main causative organism is Shigella. So that is transmitted mainly to the contaminated water. Okay, that is what I told you, to remove the pathogenic microorganism like Shigella, okay, while you are treating the water sample. The next one, to remove the toxic chemical substance, okay, the toxic chemical substance you need to remove. The water body, there are a lot of toxic substances are there. These toxic substances we need to remove, okay. So that is what we need to understand, okay. So to remove the toxic chemical substances. Then next one is the steps. What are the main important steps in the wastewater treatment process, okay. The important steps of wastewater treatment processes are, these are very, very important. One is known as primary treatment or mechanical screening. Next one is the major biological aspect where microorganisms are utilizing. That is known as secondary treatment. That is known as biological treatment. The third one is tertiary treatment or advanced treatment or chemical precipitation. So these are the major important steps of wastewater treatment, okay. In this treatment we are going to discuss very briefly about all the three treatments. So here you can see an overview of the complete process. So where you can see this particular part that is highlighted in the blue color, that is a physical process or a primary treatment, where this is highlighted in the red color, that is microbial process or secondary treatment or biological treatment, okay. Then the third one is the disinfection and the release, okay, that is the tertiary treatment, okay. So the primary treatment, secondary treatment and tertiary treatment, okay. And the sewage is screened. First you will be able to see the sewage, and that is screened, and that is the first you will be able to get the sewage from the sewage treatment plant. Then the larger waste material we will be able to take it out. Then it will be transferred to a settling tank, that is the solid matter settles out, okay. Then the big particles will be settled out, okay. Then the waste that will be pumped through a particular digester, okay. Then the waste that is the big waste materials are removed. Then the effluents are passed from the system, and that has reached into different secondary treatment. We will discuss trickling filter, activated sludge system, where the microorganisms are utilizing to remove the waste material. So once this particular process is over, the minute particles again that will be settled in certain digester, okay, where in this particular step that cannot be removed, that will be passed through this digester. Then which all are the things are able to remove, that effluent will be passed and that will be mixed with chlorine. Chlorination will happen, so the effluent will be discharged and released into the ecosystem without any harm, okay. That will be utilized by the water bodies, and that can be utilized, okay. And which all are the waste water that is unable to process or unable to treat by these three steps, then that will be settled here. That is known as sludge. That the deposits will be treated in the sludge, that will be dried. Then the sludge is removed and disposed of deposited in the lorries as well as trucks, and that will be disposed in the landfill. That will be taken as a fertilizer to the in the field, okay. So that is what is the overall step. Now we are going to discuss individual step. What do you mean by primary treatment? So primary treatment is the first step of wastewater treatment, where the primary treatment is the removal of large objects by passing the wastewater to a series of screens, okay. That is why it is known as screening, primary screening, okay, series of screen, okay. So the important techniques are screening. So it is a physical method which removes larger solids such as big boxes or tires, bottles, cans, okay, all other big object from the wastewater, okay. So that is known as screening. So once the water is screened, then it will be consisting of the minute small sedimentable solid particle. So that will be transferred to another chamber called the grit chamber, okay. So what do you mean by grit? The grit are the sedimentable solid particles present in the wastewater is known as a grit, okay, and which can be removed by passing the waste through a grit chamber, okay. So what will happen? Once the wastewater from the screening is passed through the grit chamber, it removes all the smaller solid particles. Then after that, sedimentation is the next step, that is known as primary settling. So big object we have removed, then minute sedimented solid particle you have removed. Then there are still impurities that you know that will be removes the smaller particulate material such as fecal matter and paper that is dissolved in the water. This particulate matter treated biologically through anaerobic degradation. I told you already, here it will be transferred to anaerobic sludge degradation, and this will be then the third step, okay. It will be undergo the process sedimentation. I told you all the settling particles will be settled at the bottom and the water will be passed from the system. So these are the three important: screening, grit chamber and sedimentation are the three important methods for the primary treatment. Then the next one is the secondary treatment. Secondary treatment of wastewater, okay, secondary treatment of wastewater, that is that is a biological process. This is here one point I missed. After primary treatment, the water that is coming out of the primary treatment, that is able to remove 30% of biochemical oxygen demand and 60% of total suspended solid material, okay. So that is the outcome of primary treatment. 30% of BOD it will remove and 60% of the total suspended solid material it will be removed, okay. Next one is secondary treatment. I told you, once the primary treatment process is already over, this will pass through the secondary treatment, okay. The secondary treatment of wastewater are known as biological treatment because here we are using microorganism for the removal of the water, okay. The secondary treatment is a microbiological process that exploit degradative capability of various bacteria and fungi and algae, okay. So here the waste we are passing through a chamber. That chamber has lot of bacteria. Bacteria will eat all the waste material present in the waste, present in the water, and it will purify the water. So that is the process here, okay. In the supernatant from the sedimentation tank that contains a dissolved organic material undergo microbial oxidation in an air tank, okay. That means to say, after sedimentation, the process, the water coming out of the sedimentation tank will go and settle in another tank where we will mix with the microorganism. Their oxidation of the tank will take place. That oxidation will remove all the waste that is commonly present, and if there any waste are not degraded, that will be transferred to anaerobic digestion tank, okay. The second step is there any waste is not removed, that are not able to remove, that will be transferred to anaerobic digestion tank. There it will remove later, okay. So after a period of microbial oxidation, this will go to the second sedimentation tank where both aerobic process and anaerobic processes will be takes place. After a period of microbial oxidation, the effluents or sewage from the tank will pass through the sedimentation second sedimentation tank, and the sedimentation from this particular tank it will go to the anaerobic digestion. So after secondary treatment, we are going to have it will remove the 85% of biochemical oxygen demand and completely most of the total suspended solid will be removed. And this is the most important steps in the among the three process, because the first step removes only 30% of BOD. Second process removes 85%. That is a power of microorganism. They can remove. How they will remove? They will consume all the waste that is present in the water, and they will purify the water, and the microorganism they will eat, they will consume, they will utilize, they will feed all the waste for as their food, okay, because the waste is a best source of the carbon, nitrogen, okay, all those sources, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus, all those sources, okay. The microorganism, they will be utilizing the waste for their growth, okay. Then now we are going to see what are the main types of the secondary treatment methods, okay. There are 5 different methods. So in that 5 different methods, the first 3 methods are mentioned in your syllabus. That is what they have mentioned somewhere in the syllabus: trickling filter, activated sludge system, oxidation pond or stabilization lagoons or oxidation lagoons. Then as I showed in the picture, anaerobic sludge digester. And one more important method is known as RBC. This is not red blood corpuscles. This is rotating biological contractor. Okay. These are the major secondary treatment methods. This is otherwise known as biological treatment methods. Okay. Which are that? Trickling filter, activated sludge treatment, then oxidation ponds or stabilization lagoon, anaerobic sludge digester, rotating biological contractor. So these are the major types of treatment methods. So we are going to discuss these are the big unit in microbiology, environmental microbiology. So we will discuss very briefly. First one, trickling filter. So what do you mean by trickling filter? It is a tank, okay. Trickling filter is a tank, huge tank made up of 3 to 10 feet in deep, which packed either with a crushed rock or some other supporting material. You have to have a big tank that is filled with rock pieces, okay, full rock pieces, and this surface of these rock pieces are coated with the bacterial film or microbial film. Each rock particle that is supported or coated with the microbial film. So what is the action here? It's very simple. If you pass the liquid waste which is applied to the top of the filter and circulate, okay, it will be percolate downwards, depositing the organic material on the support and the microbial film, okay. So the waste water is coming over the top of the the chamber, that will follows downwards. Then it will filter through the rock particle. The rock particle has lot of microbial flora. They will consume these waste material and filter the water, okay. Aerobic conditions are maintained in the filter because oxygen is required for this process in a filter by upward flow of air through the space between the particle and the solid support, okay. Then there I told you some microorganisms are coated. What is coated? There are heterotrophic bacteria are coated in the top, okay. We have already discussed what is chemotroph, heterotrophs, phototrophs, all those things, okay. The heterotrophic bacteria which are able to take they are able to degrade chemical or organic components as their source of energy, source of food, isn't it? So heterotrophs are grown on the top of the filter and which produce energy and nutrients by oxidizing organic material present in the wastewater. So the heterotrophic bacteria are coated on the surface of the rock on the top, and this heterotrophic organism, there are some name you should write and study. Zooglea remigera, one of the most important bacteria present in the wastewater treatment. The Z should be capital, okay. Zooglea remigera, Pseudomonas, alkaligenes, Achromobacter, okay, this is Achromobacter, and Flavobacterium, okay. Bacteria, there's a spelling mistake, Bacterium, Flavobacterium, okay. So then fungal groups such as Trichosporon, Geotrichum, Fusarium, okay. These are the heterotrophic bacteria. And what is present in the bottom, the lower layer of the rock particle, there are autotrophic nitrogen nitrifying bacteria are present. Autotrophic nitrifying bacteria are present, which oxidizes the ammonium to nitrate and to nitrite. We have already discussed nitrogen cycle. We have already seen nitrogen cycle. The ammonium will be converted into nitrite, then it nitrite, okay. So these organisms are Nitrosomonas and Nitrosococcus, okay. So Nitrosomonas and Nitrosococcus. So What is the mechanism? It's very simple. Water should transfer to the top. There is a big tank, okay, the tank consisting of full of rock particles, and that rock particle supported, that is coated with, each rock particle is coated with what? Microbial film of top heterotrophic bacteria, bottom autotrophic nitrifying bacteria. So this is what I have told. Okay, here it is a very big tank. Here you can see full rock particles. There is a sprinkler like things are there to spread the water, the waste water from the system. Okay, and you can see here there is a tank, there is a pipe. Okay, it will filter, the waste water will filter, then it will filter out. Okay, and what will happen? There you can see the air is pumping, okay, towards up, because the process is aerobic process. The water will be filtered, the rock particle consisting of a lot of microorganism. That microorganism will consume the waste and it will be filtered out. Here you can see, here is the original photograph of a very huge trickling filter, and you can see the water is coming from through the pipe, something like a sprinkler. Okay, this is waste water and full of that small baby jelly like rock particle that is coated with a bacterial film. Okay, so that is then it will filter out and it will be segregated at the bottom. Okay, that is known as trickling filter. Okay, the next one is activated sludge system. Okay, so here in activated sludge system, the sewage that has received from the primary treatment plant is mixed with an inoculum of microorganism and aerated with oxygen for 15 hours. This is known as activation of the sludge. It's very simple. I will tell you, the water that is coming out of the primary treatment will pass through a big tank, okay, where we will mix with the microorganism and oxygen. We will add microorganism and oxygen we will add, and that tank, the waste will be mixed for nearly 15 hours, almost one full day. Okay, so 15 hours time. Okay, so 15 hours, and this process is known as activation of the sludge. This is the first step. Thus this method is known as activated sludge system. Activated sludge system. Okay, and here again I told you we will mix the microorganism. What you will mix? The organism like Zooglea remigera. It is a I told you it is a film. Okay, it's a gram-negative film, slime forming bacteria, filmy appearance. Okay, that is the surface of bacteria, there is a slime. Okay, that is known as a slime forming bacteria called Zooglea remigera. Okay, this microorganism acted on the organic material and that degrade and produce clumps like substance called flock. Okay, this microorganism will act on the organic material present in the waste material, and it will mix it with that waste and produce a clump like substance called a flock, and this flock will be passed through the sedimentation tank and the flock will be removed out. Okay, and the supernatant will pass through aerobic sludge digester. Okay, in activated sludge system, the BOD level is reduced much due to the flock dependent removal of organic material. Here the microorganism mixed with the waste, okay, and the organic waste, and they will degrade and they produce the clumps like substance, so that is known as flock. The flocks will be removed. Okay, so that is what I showed here actually in the picture. Okay, here you can see the water is coming from the primary tank. Here you can see the activated sludge system. Okay, the water is mixed with an oxygen as well as microorganism, and you can see that will be removed. Unremoved one, again it will go to the next tank. Okay, either both the things are, it's not required, one it is required, or this one or this one. Trickling filter I told you. Okay, already told you, and that is coming out of the system. Okay, now you can see this is the activated sludge system. This is what I told you. It's a very huge tank. You can see the primary sewage effluent coming, and there is an aeration tank. The air is there. Okay, and it will go to the settling tank, sedimentation, and this is the solid particle will be go to the digester. Okay, solid particle will be going to the digester. This is the settling tank. Okay, whatever I have shown, it will go to the anaerobic digester. Okay, then you can see this original photograph is a very huge tank. The activation of the the sewage. Okay, the waste material is coming from this pipe and that is mixed with the microorganism and oxygen, full of oxygen. Microorganism completely will, you can see something like in Malayalam നമ്മൾ പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ പത വരെ പതഞ്ഞ് you can see ഇത് വരുന്നത്. Okay, so here you can see completely the flux will be produced, that will be reduced the water. Okay, that will be reduced the waste water. Okay, so that is known as the aeration of the tank, and then the waste, it will come to the settling tank. Okay, and it will be settled out, it will go to the digestion. This is known as activated sludge system. Then these are the first two methods are very common. Apart from this one, there are some other methods also, that is known as secondary, that is other secondary treatment methods are oxidation ponds or stabilization lagoon. Okay, these are a big pond like things you can see constructed in a huge land area. Oxidation ponds are shallow 2 to 4 feet deep. Okay, 2 to 4 feet deep pond where instead of bacteria we are growing algae. Okay, such as green algae, such as chlorella, one of the important green algae, chlorella. That algae will consume all the waste material from the effluent and they will remove the pure water. Okay, so they consume the wastewater nutrients and produce oxygen for the aerobic decomposition. Here this is the one tank, this is the oxidation tank, and oxidation of the waste material in presence of oxygen and microorganism will happen. That is why it is known as stabilization lagoons. The drawback of this method is you require a lot of land. Okay, so here you can see in Malayalam, if you call it something like a വലിയ പാടം കണക്കെ എന്ത് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്, here water it is collected. Okay, so that is what I wanted to tell you. So that is the important species of green algae is grown here. Okay, the main drawback is to require a lot of land and mainly bacteria, mainly algae we are going to use. That is known as oxidation pond or stabilization lagoon. Next one is anaerobic sludge digester. Okay, this one also a secondary treatment. Here you can see whatever the waste materials is not possible to reduce by aerobic process. The oxygen is toxic for those particular organism. Okay, it requires a special type of system called anaerobic sludge digester. Oxygen cannot be utilized here. That is separately maintained. That is known as anaerobic sludge digester. Here you can see, here all this is a deep tank produces methane, carbon dioxide and small amount of nitrogen and hydrogen due to the anaerobic degradation of organic components. Okay, here you can see substrate that is coming. Okay, and it's mixing properly. The organism, the bacteria that is toxic to this particular particular condition will not be there. The anaerobic organism will be present there. They will not be growing in all other process. Okay, and here it will produce methane, carbon dioxide and small amount of nitrogen and hydrogen after the degradation of the waste material. So there it will be complete. So both aerobic and anaerobic process, you can achieve 100% of almost 99% of waste removal. So that is known as anaerobic sludge digester. Next one is another important method, is a modern method, is known as rotating biological contractor. Okay, instead of this first two method, the water can be straight away obtained from the primary treatment steps, and that can be transferred to a big biological big disc like structure. Okay, where microbial fixed film coated, the disc like structure, big disc like structure, the microorganisms are coated. That microorganism coated disc, you can add the wastewater. Okay, so it is a biological fixed film treatment process used in the treatment of wastewater following primary treatment. This is known as RBC, rotating biological contractor, allows the wastewater to come in contact with the biological film in order to remove the pollutants in the wastewater before discharge of the treated wastewater to the environment. Okay, so before it is discharging to the environment, the wastewater that can be contacted to a biological film where that is coated over the a big rotating disc. Okay, so it consisting of series of closely spaced parallel disc mounted on a rotating shaft. Okay, so rotating shaft which is supported just above the surface of the wastewater. So there will be lot of big turbine on disc-like spaced parallel disc-like structures. Okay, that will be always rotated. The microorganisms are coated on this rotating disc that will be grow on the surface of the disc where biological degradation of the wastewater pollutant takes place. Okay, you should parallelly, continuously you should add the wastewater and the disc will rotate. The rotating disc will have the microorganism. That microorganism will remove the waste material so that your water is completely clean. Okay, so this is what I told. Here you can see a big shaft. It's a very big, this is a photograph. One disc, second disc, third disc, black, fully coated. Okay, parallel disc. You can see the waste will be pumped to this particular system. Then it will rotate. So the water, so many times it will rotate. So waste water will be percolated over this rotating disc, and the disc will be rotated. The waste will be coming at the bottom, and the water will be passed through this particular region. Okay, so there are many. This is 3 discs are available, but there are 4, 5, 6 like that. Okay, this is known as rotating biological contract. So these are the main important secondary treatment system. Okay, trickling filter, activated sludge treatment, oxidization pond, and anaerobic sludge digester, and rotating biological contractor. So here you can see this is the trickling filter, activated sludge system, and anaerobic sludge digester. Okay, any one of the method is sufficient in this case. Okay, so after this particular steps, so 95% of biochemical, 85% of the BOD is already over. The last removal of the biochemical, there are minute particle, microorganism, etc. will be present. That will not be removed. That will be removed in another step called tertiary treatment, where the tertiary treatment is known as advanced treatment or chemical treatment. Okay, so this is the last step of wastewater treatment, which will be removing additional pollutant after the secondary treatment. Any pollutant is remaining after the secondary treatment step, it will be removed. Generally, it will also remove the microorganism. What are the tertiary treatment? It is chemical flocculation, final filtration, and chlorination. Flocculation, filtration, and the chlorination. So flocculation removes much of the remaining flocks, very minute flocks will be removed from the treated water that is coming from the secondary treatment system, which are unable to degrade in any of the other method. Okay, the final filtration, there is another filter which removes the solid which are dried and are incinerated or used as a landfill or a fertilizer. Okay, the filtered, the solids will be dried and that can be used as a fertilizer. Then finally, the water will be undergoing chlorination. Some of the liquid effluent to kill microorganisms. You know that when you are adding chlorine, now everything will be removed, but we did not remove microorganisms, isn't it? They are very harmful, isn't it? So the final step is add chlorine, okay, and remove the microorganisms. Chlorine is a halogen, you know that. Chlorine is toxic to the bacteria, and that will be removed from that will be killed by the bacteria. And the final effluent before it is, so we have already chlorinated, then dechlorination should be done. Okay, because otherwise what will happen is the chlorine will be so that there are useful microorganisms. Okay, when the chlorinated water is leached to the ecosystem, there are useful microorganisms that is required for the nitrogen cycle, phosphorus cycle. When you are chlorinated water, if you add to such a kind of ecosystem, useful microorganism will be also killed. That should not happen. So thus we have to dechlorinate the water, then you releases the water. So after tertiary treatment, 95% of the biochemical oxygen demand will be removed and all the suspended solid will be removed. Okay, so these are the wastewater treatment system, dear students. So I have explained all those basic concepts. So now we can conclude. So we have already discussed what are the introduction about the wastewater, what do you mean by wastewater or sewage, what are the different types of sewage, okay, what are the sewage system, what are sewers, okay, sanitary sewers, storm sewers or combined sewers. What do you mean by biochemical oxygen demand or BOD or biological oxygen demand? What are the objectives of wastewater treatment process? What are the steps in wastewater treatment process? Okay, there are primary treatment, secondary treatment, tertiary treatment. What do you mean by primary treatment? There you can see screening, okay, then grit chamber and sedimentation. These three are the process. Next one is secondary treatment. There are most important thing. There are trickling filter, activated sludge system, oxidation ponds or stabilization lagoon, anaerobic sludge digester, rotating biological contractor. Okay, and tertiary treatment are the last one is flocculation, then again sedimentation, then filtration, then if it is required sedimentation or filtration, then final halogenation or chlorination, okay, or bromination or fluorination, okay, whatever it is. So these are the major aspects. So these are the reference book, dear students. You can refer any basic microbiology textbook, and it is a huge topic. It's because in a conventional microbiology student, it's a very big topic for you. I have just summarized the important concept. Okay, so thank you very much, dear students, for attending this particular class. If you are having any clarification or any doubt, you can mail me, or you can post a comment over down, or you can call me and you can ask me. So thank you very much.